and be like, okay, I'm just going to make this work because I'm obviously not going to come home anytime soon for a long period of time, apart from quarantine. But anyway, hey sailors, welcome back to Cruising as Crew. My name is Lucy, and today we're going to be discussing whether or not you can have a career working on cruise ships. But please press like and subscribe if you want some more cruise ship content. But as for now, let's get into the video. So there are two types of people that work on cruise ships. The people like me who do it for the experience, and people who do it for the money. Now, it's usually Westerners, UK, Australia, America, that do it for the experience because, you know, with the exchange rate of our home currency, we can earn about the same amount of money at home. So for example, if we decided to have kids, we could get a job at home, earn a similar amount of money and be with our kids. Whereas people from like Asia, Africa, the Caribbean, the exchange rate means that they take a hell of a lot more home working on a cruise ship. So if they decided to have kids, they would have to make the decision of, okay, I can either be with my child and take a significant pay cut, or I can continue working on cruise ships and be away from my child, but you know, it will give them kind of a better future, which is what a lot of people do. So working on cruise ships, it just depends on your circumstances and what you want out of life. So as I said, I started my cruise ship career just for the experience. I just wanted to work on cruise ships to experience working on a ship, traveling, meeting people from all over the world, kind of perfecting my craft. And that was the whole reason I started. And I honestly thought that I was going to do maybe a few contracts, 2 or 3 contracts, and then be like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go home now and get a real job on land. That was just what I thought was going to happen. However, I did that. So after my second contract, I came home and I was like, right, it's time to get serious now. I need to get a real job and start, you know, working up the ladder and whatever. So I came home for a year, about a year, and got a little job and hated every second of it. It was so boring. And I think it was the job that was the problem, is it was just too safe and I wasn't learning anything. So I'd gone from being on a cruise ship where there's new people all the time, there's new things to learn, everything's 100 miles an hour, to this job where it was literally just me in the office. So I was like, I have no one to talk to, and I like my own company, so I thought I'd be fine. But like I said, going from a cruise ship environment to that, I was like, oh my God. So anyway, I stuck it out for a year because it was a good job, it had good prospects. But then I was like, you know what, I can't do this. And while I don't have anything keeping me at home, I may as well just do what I want to do and work on the cruise ships. Like, there's no rush. You know, I'll come home when I am good and ready. So anyway, I left that job after a year and I went back on the cruise ships, and that's when I made the transition from working in the spa on board cruise ships to the shops on board cruise ships. So now I am a shoppy. I have done it for a few contracts now and kind of I have made my mind up that, you know what, I love working on cruise ships and I don't want to give it up anytime soon. So I am going to work up the ranks, and that is what my intention is when I get back to Virgin Voyages. So you can have quite a lucrative career on board cruise ships, but the money only starts coming in, like any other job, when you get to the managerial positions. So I am at an entry-level job right now, and that suits me absolutely fine for now, but the idea is that I will work up the ladder because I can, because being away from home right now isn't a problem. I don't have like a husband, I don't have a dog, unfortunately. I don't have anything holding me at home, which means that I can put all my effort into building my career on board cruise ships. Now, the thing with cruise ships is the higher you get up the ladder, up the management ladder, anyway, you know what I'm saying. The higher you get up, the more perks you get. So I'm at an entry level job and I share a cabin. Not on Virgin Voyages, but anyway, I would share a cabin on any other cruise ship. And the higher you get, the more perks you have and the bigger your cabin gets. So for example, my manager has his own cabin, and then his manager has his own cabin, but it's a lot bigger. And then, you know, the cabins get bigger and bigger, and you know, you get a cabin steward, so you get someone who comes and cleans your cabin, because the idea is that if you're a manager, then you must be really, really busy, so you don't have time to do what crew members do, which isn't exactly true, but anyway, that's the idea behind it. You also get perks like managers who are above a certain amount of stripes. So I think it's like if you're 3 stripes or above, maybe 4 stripes, I don't know, but some kind of stripes, then you get your own officer's mess, which is significantly better than the crew and the staff mess. So I actually haven't done a video on that, but anyway, basically you have a crew mess, a staff mess, and an officer's mess. The officer's mess is, you guessed it, for officers and managerial people, and the food in there is a lot better. So you get better food, you get your own cabin, you get more deck privileges, which basically means that you are allowed to go anywhere on the ship at any time. So your job role on board a cruise ship significantly impacts your life on board a cruise ship. I don't know whether that, I hope that makes sense and doesn't sound like a really dumb thing to say, but yeah, because you basically get so many more perks as a manager. If you do have a career on board cruise ships, then you are going to have to give up things like weddings, birthdays, Christmases, little like parties with your family and friends, which I have done. You know, as I said in many times, I've worked on cruise ships for 4 years, so I have missed a lot of Christmases, a lot of birthdays, a lot of weddings, a lot of babies being born, a lot of just nights out and, you know, things. And I have done that in service of, well, myself really. It's, you know, it's a selfish decision. I love working on cruise ships, and yes, I have made other friends. I've made a lot of friends working on ships. However, if you're on cruise ships for like the next 10 years, you're not exactly gonna have the same people. Basically, people on cruise ships change all the time. Every single week or every single 2 weeks, depending on the ship, there are people getting off and there are people getting on. So I don't think I've ever had the same people on a ship. Actually, that's a lie. So there's two people that I've been with again on another ship, if you get what I mean. But normally it's just a whole new group of people that you're with. So every time you go on a ship, your social life, it normally starts from scratch. Okay, you don't like get knocked down a peg. Like if you're a manager, then you'll still be a manager, but the people that you manage change all the time. So you give up your kind of family and friends at home while you're on the cruise ship, but that's not in service of building like another foundation, because everyone changes. Yes, you will have friends for life, and yes, it will be the most amazing thing you do. However, you need to be aware that the people are constantly changing. And the thing with your social life is, as I said, I'm at an entry-level job, so I am not speaking from experience, but this is just what I've heard. But obviously, as you go up the ranks and become management, your relationship with people changes, because it's no longer okay, we're the same level and we're friends. It's like, okay, well, I'm your boss or you're my boss, so there is a different dynamic. So that is something to be aware of, because, you know, people that you may have worked with, or you may have never worked with them, and it might not be a problem, but if you do end up working with the same people, the last time you worked with them, you may have been the same level as them, and now you're their boss, and that's a really difficult transition to make. But then again, wherever you work, even if you work in an office on land, I suppose there's the risk of having that, you know, dynamic change. But anyway, just be aware that unlike working in an office where people tend to just stay the same and work there for 20 years and you know what's what, on a cruise ship, people are changing continuously. And you will either love it or hate it. I love it. I love the fact that there's constantly new people to meet. I'm constantly learning new things, it's just new all the time, and I really like it because it stops things getting stagnant. However, if you're not a big fan of change, then you might not like that as much, and working in an office where things tend to stay the same might be more up your alley. And you can still work in the cruise ship industry, but on land. I mean, cruise ship companies obviously have head offices. Anyway, they have people on land that work out schedules and sort out the crew members on board. So maybe if you want to work in the cruise ship industry but you don't want to work on board cruise ships, then you can always kind of work in head office on land. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about working on board cruise ships, not in head office. Just so you know, in my time on board cruise ships, I have not seen many women in leadership roles. And I mean like older women. And when I say old, I don't mean old, I mean older, like 28, early 30s. So not old at all. And that's because I feel like women obviously have a biological clock, and if you want kids, then you do kind of have to make that decision. Like, do I want to stay on board cruise ships and work up the ladder, or do I want to go home and have children? Now, obviously, women do this all the time. One of my closest friends, she's from the Philippines, and her 2 daughters are at home and she works on board the cruise ships. But as I said previously, that is not kind of the Western culture. So yeah, you do really have to make that decision, whether you want to work on board cruise ships or whether you want to go home and live a normal life on land. And it neither is better or worse, it's what you want. But unfortunately you can't really have both, because the thing is, like, even if you're a career woman on land, you still come home every night. So you can have a family, because even if the nanny kind of looks after the kids during the day, you still come home every other night or every night and see your kids. Whereas working on a cruise ship, you are away for months at a time. So, men are usually more in leadership roles because I guess it's more natural for them to be away from their kids. Like, my dad works at sea, and when I was a kid he used to go away for 4 months at a time and come back for a few months. So for me that's kind of the normal dynamic. So yeah, it's just a decision that you have to make. But because of that decision, there are not as many women in leadership roles. It is a very kind of male dominated industry. Lastly, working on cruise ships is really, really addictive because of what I said previously. New cultures, new people, you're in a new place every day. It's 100 miles an hour. There's always something to learn. You always feel like you're bettering yourself. And that is addictive. It's exhausting, but it's addictive. And honestly, if I got £1 for the amount of people that said, okay, this is my last contract, and then a few months later I was like, oh, so you're back on ships, I'd be rich. Everyone does it because you're exhausted when you're getting to the end of your contract. You're like, okay, this is it. I just want to lead a normal life. I just want to be at home with my family and friends. And then you get home and the pace slows down and you're like, oh my God, I really miss it. And then people go back, which is what I did numerous times. I have said to myself, it's my last contract a lot of times, and I've gone back. So now I've just given in and be like, okay, I'm just going to make this work, because I'm obviously not going to come home anytime soon for a long period of time, apart from quarantine. But anyway, so yes, it is very, very addictive. So it's just something to take into consideration if you want to have a career on a cruise ship. If you ever decide to give it up, there is going to be a massive adjustment period because things change. Things will change a lot. Can you have a career on a cruise ship? The answer is yes, of course you can. However, you do have to just decide what you want. If you want a family and a dog and all of those lovely things, then working on cruise ships while doing all of that might not be the best option. however it might be. You literally just have to look inside yourself. But you do, you know, obviously as you get older, you want to be earning more money. You don't want to be sleeping in a bunk bed. And, you know, you want to be higher up. So make the decision and go with it. Don't dilly-dally around like I've done. You know, because I've been on ships for 4 years, and every contract I've been like, okay, this is my last contract. And instead of just sticking to my decision and being like, okay, we're going to work up the ranks and we're going to work at it, I'm 4 years in and I'm still at an entry-level position, which, as I said, I'm fine with. But if I'd have just gone with what I wanted, like, okay, I want to work on cruise ships, I would probably be a manager by now. So make the decision and stick to it. And but also, it's something you can change at any point in time. You know, if you work your way up to, you know, a really high leadership status, but you decide, actually, I don't want this anymore, great, come home and get a job as a manager at home. The great thing about being, I guess, a Westerner, or from the UK, let's say, is you don't really have to make the decision, because you can earn the same amount of money on board as you can at home. So the only real reason that you are going to work on cruise ships is because you love it. As soon as you don't love it, give it up. And that's kind of the advice I would give for anyone and any job. If you don't enjoy it, like, life is too short and we spend a lot of time at work. If you don't enjoy what you're doing and you are in a position where you are able to give it up, find something new. Like, don't put yourself through that misery, because you don't have to. But anyway, so yes, you can have a career on cruise ships, but you just have to decide what you want. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you have enjoyed it, and maybe it's kind of answered a question of yours. So please press like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.